Hi everyone, it's Lisa from I Dream in Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. Sorry about the lack of proper intro. I'm pushing right up against time to get this video edited, so I thought we'd just jump in so I can get it done in time. Now this soap is an all-natural soap, so it's got no micas in it. In fact, it's got no colourants in it at all. And also it's got no fragrance or even essential oils in it. It gets its quite gentle but very nice fragrance from the spices that we're going to be using. Now the recipe I'm using today and sharing with you is not a recipe that I've developed myself. If you've seen my salt bars, I'll leave a link to those in the description. It's the same sort of situation where one of our cosmetic chemists in the UK has developed and shared with us a recipe that you're all very welcome to use. Now, if you are going to sell these soaps, or you would like to sell these soaps in the EU, including the UK, there are certain rules and regulations that you should be aware of. I went over all of that in my video on salt bars, so if you're at all unsure about any of those types of things, do make sure you check out my salt bar video, and I'll just let you know what you can and can't do if you're thinking about selling these soaps in the EU. And as we said, that includes the UK at this point in time. Now the recipe itself has been written deliberately, so there's no expensive or unusual ingredients in it. So it's got some very common base oils that is used, and then everything in addition to the oils and lye is stuff that you would just typically find in your store cupboard. Or maybe if you don't make Christmas cakes very much, you need to pop down to the supermarket and just buy some spices. Now, before I get loads of people making all weird comments and things in the comments section below, you will notice in this recipe that it does contain cinnamon. Now, I know fairly recently another very well-known soap maker expressed a massive concern saying you should never use cinnamon in your soaps. That's not quite true. Certainly they shouldn't be used to any great extent. And if you remember, as I was saying, this recipe has actually been developed by a cosmetic chemist whose job is to assess the safety of all of our soaps that we produce before we can actually sell them. So therefore, as long as you use the spices and things that are actually recommended at the levels they're recommended, then they're perfectly fine to use. It's the same with anything really. You wouldn't exceed usage on a fragrance oil or bung in a little bit more lye into your soaps. So as long as you're going along with the recommended amounts, it's perfectly fine. Now I want to have some little Christmas pudding embeds in my soap. So what I've done is I've made up some soap dough using the recipe the day before, and I've kept it sealed nicely in an airtight bag. I'm going to use the I Dream in Soap Christmas Pudding Extruder, and I'm going to use this darker brown soap dough that's got quite a bit of the spices in for the base of the pudding. And then I'll extrude some just plain soap dough that I've made with just soap batter, none of the spices or anything in it, for the top of the Christmas pudding. When I extrude my soap dough for anything, I always try and extrude it as straight as possible. I often see people, when they extrude some soap dough out of an extruder, letting it curl up and all that sort of thing. If you can just muck around with it as it starts to come out of the extruder and get it going as straight as it possibly can, then you're going to get a much better result. Because as soon as you start letting it twist round and then having to bend it to strain it out again, you're putting stress and strain on it and potentially causing it to crack in places that you don't want it to. So I'll just carry on until I've extruded enough Christmas puddings for my design. I also want one extra length of Christmas puddings because I'm going to put little extra embeds on the top of my soap as well. And then using the other half of the Christmas pudding extruder, I'll repeat the process, this time with the uncoloured soap dough, just to make the tops of those Christmas puddings. And then just after they're freshly extruded, because I want this soap dough to be nice and fresh and sticky, I'm going to just brush the joins with some distilled water and then just join the two halves together. And then finally, I just want the little berries that normally go on top of the Christmas pudding. So I've just used one of these standard extruder discs that we've got. Now, ideally, it would be great to have some little red berries, but I don't have a red available in this assessment. So I'm just using some soap dough with less of the spice in, so it's a lighter colour. Normally I would use some red to get my little berries on the top, as you can see here in this other Christmas soap that I've done. But that's not available for us today, so we'll just make do with what we've got. Now, to make the main body of the soap, what I've done is I've weighed all the soap that was in the embeds that had the spice in, and from that I worked out how much spice I'd already used in my embeds. And then I've got the rest of the spices that I've got available to me for the rest of my soap. Okay, so quite a bit of them is going into this first layer, and I'm going to make up each layer separately because I want it to set before I pour the next layer. This layer is all going to be one solid colour, so I'm adding the spices into the oil first of all, and then I can give them a really good blend with the stick blender to make sure they're really dispersed nicely and incorporated properly, so I get no horrible speckly bits or anything. And also it means less blending after the lie's gone in, so therefore we don't need to worry about our trace accelerating too much, because spices, especially things like clove and that, can actually accelerate your batter quite a bit. And then in with our lye solution, and I'm just going to blend this to a reasonably decent trace, sort of a medium type trace. It's just going to be a solid layer on the bottom of the soap, but I do want to make sure that it's pourable. Remember, as soon as it's thick and blobby, you're looking at getting sort of air gaps and things in your soap. So keep it pourable, even if it's a slightly thicker trace. Once the batter's set up enough, I'm just going to scrape that bottom layer. I'm just basically going to take 3 little curves out of it to sit 3 Christmas puddings in. Now you've seen me doing sculpted layers and embeds a number of times before, so I'm just going to pop some music on and we'll just have a look at the build of the rest of this soap.
There's some stains on your photo, little cracks on your rusty frame. It's dark in been millenniums, but you're okay. I don't have the pieces of your home buried in the flashbacks. All these wicked nightmares has gone cold. No, we go way, way back, as far as way back goes. Still standing by your side. You know I'll be right here when all the monsters come. I've got you.
So as normal, I covered the soap and popped it in the oven and C-popped it, so the oven on at 75 degrees C, turned off as soon as the soap went in, and I left it overnight. I've been pleased with my new soap cutter so far. I've still only used it a few times, but so far it seems great. It's lovely and easy to clean. All the strings are nice and evenly spaced, and it's fully made in stainless steel. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. And let's have a look at our little Christmas puddingy soaps. I'm really pleased with those. I like the little drippy top that I've scraped away for that top layer. The little berries on top of the puddings don't stand out an awful lot because they're very similar to the colour of that middle layer. But overall, I really like it. And I think for a completely natural soap that's got no micas or any other colorants at all, it looks really quite cool. And also it does have a really nice sort of Christmas puddingy smell, but really quite gentle. I don't think you'd be wanting to wash in something that was really strongly scented. So I think this is quite a good balance. These soaps, along with all my other latest soaps, will be available for sale in my December the 1st shop update. And then I'll just leave you with a final picture of the soap. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you left me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see what I'm doing in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? And if you've got any questions or comments, then please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!